Hi, welcome back to Rain or Shine Gardening. I'm Katie, and today I would love to take you along with me as I make a summer bouquet. Right now, we are in August, and everything it seems like that I've been waiting all season for to bloom is finally in bloom. So, I've got some beautiful roses, some dahlias that are just coming into bloom, some new ones to me this year. So, that's really exciting. I've got all kinds of things that I use for filler of different texture. And yeah, I just want to show you kind of what goes into creating a bouquet and how I put them together, how I choose my vessel, my vase of what I'm going to put them in, and just to show you some of the beautiful things that are blooming. And as much as I love walking through my garden and seeing those blooms outside, I really like to put together arrangements too so I can bring them in and enjoy my yard when I'm inside my house as well. So I'm going to take you along with my flower basket here to put my cut blooms in. I've got some snips so that I can cut off some of those beautiful things that I'm going to include today. And come along with me as we tour the garden and look for things to put into a bouquet. Okay, my first stop here in the garden today is at this beautiful rose. And this rose is called Sunstruck. And it is maybe my favorite rose in my garden. It's got these really long stems, and you can see there's so many blooms. It has just gone so wild. You can see it's taller than me. I'm 5'3", 5'4" on a good day. And yeah, it's really doing well this year and enjoying its life. Today, I want to put together a really big bouquet. And so, what I might actually do instead of just following this one stem down and cutting this one middle rose off that's in bloom, you can see all of these buds around the outside too. I might even follow this down and cut at the very base because this has already kind of created a shape for me in my bouquet. Another reason why I like to do this, this is a hybrid tea rose, but another reason I like to maybe cut this down and use these multiple stems in my arrangement is because this actually provides some support for the other things I'm going to be putting in my vase. So instead of using a frog in the bottom, which is something you can put in to help provide support, some kind of structure support for those stems, individual stems that are going in. This is going to create that kind of interwoven structure inside my vase. So when I put my other single stems in, they kind of interlock with this. So I think this might be my starting point for my bouquet. And that's what I'm going to look for first is kind of do I have something that I really want to use? And then can I structure the rest of my bouquet around that? So I think as far as color and theme, I'm going to go with my Sunstruck Rose. And I am going to clip this pretty long, but you'll see that I'm just taking that whole piece. So this won't be in my garden to enjoy anymore. But coming up, I know I have a busy week. I'm probably not going to be out here too much, but having this inside my house will allow me to enjoy this much longer in my bouquet that I'm making. So my first piece has been secured, and now I'm going to base the rest of what I choose for my bouquet around this color, this shape, this style. And so this is going in my basket. Another thing I consider when I'm putting my bouquets together um, would be, is there anything in my garden that needs rescuing? Is there anything I'm going to be pruning anyway that I need to take out or cut down? Because if there is, and if I can cut that and use it in a bouquet, then it's kind of double duty. So you'll see this sedum here that is really pretty. It's got these kind of purpley red mauve colored stems and then kind of a purpley pink color bloom on it. I see this part over here is falling down. I could stake this up and I might actually leave this front one and just cut out one stem, but this is going to be really pretty for me to use in a bouquet. And this is going to bring a new color, it's going to bring a different texture. So I might cut out some of this just because I know it's flopping anyway. And I might either have to cut it back or do some pruning on it. So I'm going to chop that off and put this in my basket to use in my bouquet. I'm going to cut one more stem of it here. I'm cutting them pretty long because I don't know how long they're going to be in my arrangement, but I want to make sure that they're long enough. Now, right behind it here, you can see I have some baby blue eucalyptus, and it's growing way out this way. I've got some other stems way out that way. So I do need to know that I need to come in and do some trimming back on this. I have another one on the other side that I can cut from as well. But I do know I need to do some pruning anyway. And the reason I planted this eucalyptus, honestly, was for flower arrangements. So I'm going to come in and I know I need to prune this back. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to cut this one back to here. And this eucalyptus is so pretty to use in bouquets. It's got a really pretty blue green color and it's almost like a soft gray. So if I'm going for the romantic look of those kind of muted soft colors, this will be something really great to use in my bouquets. Here's another long stem of it that I need to cut back. It's going into this variegated lavender that I have. So I'm going to cut that one off. See how pretty that is. So here I'm just doing double duty because I need to get some of this prune back anyway, but I can also use it in my arrangements. Now here's an example of something I'm not going to choose, and I'll explain why. You can see these light color pink roses. One's called Falling in Love, and one is called Moonstruck. And these I am not choosing for my bouquet. They are bloomed out. You can see that there's even a little bit of brown around some of the petals, and they're going to lose their petals soon. And I don't want to put a bouquet together and immediately have it start losing petals and not look great and have to start removing things right away. So I am not going to use these roses this time around, even though these are some that I really like to have in bouquets. There's a lot of new buds on them, so I know in future weeks here I'll be able to use them. But right now, these are not good choices for my bouquet. Okay, this here is Verbena bonariensis, and it is one of my favorites for cut arrangements. It has really beautiful purple blooms on it, but the stems are also really sturdy. And because it grows so well and vigorously, I don't mind cutting it way back. And I'm just cutting above where another little stem is. But I'm going to pull some of these off. It creates some really pretty interest in my bouquets. And I like this purple color for the theme that we're going with. I think today I do want to go with a little bit of variation in color. I'm going to be including a lot of white dahlias, so I'm going to go ahead and cut both of these roses to include in my bouquet. And I might end up leaving some things out by the time I get ready to put the whole bouquet together. Um, but for now, I'm going to put it in my basket. Sometimes I do end up with leftover flowers, and all I do is maybe grab another little short vase and make a smaller little bouquet just so that I'm not wasteful for anything that I've cut. So I'm going to cut these two really pretty um, kind of brighter tangerine orange color roses to include in my bouquet. These roses are called Anna's Promise. And then let's see. And it is my most fragrant rose that I have in my garden. And it's got a couple buds here. So I'm going to cut it low so I know that I have a long stem to work with in my arrangement. Look how beautiful that is. Okay, when I'm going to be putting a flower arrangement together, I definitely need to pause part of the way through and kind of analyze where I'm at with what I found in the garden. And so far, I have a lot of beautiful color. And so I'll look to see, am I missing any reds, any kind of bright chartreuse, any greens? Do I have enough filler? And just kind of take count of what I have so far. So this is a good start, I'm feeling like. It's very pretty. I wanted to mention too, I'm also outside in the early morning. So it's nice and cool outside. So I'm not worrying too much about trying to hurry up and get these flowers into water because it is very cool. It's recently rained. I know everything's well hydrated, and I'm going to be getting it into water soon as I'm putting my bouquet together. But if you are cutting when it is warm or it's been warm, definitely have a bucket of water that you're putting things directly into. Sometimes, depending on the type of flower or what you're working with, it might need to drink right away as well. So just consider that as you're cutting your blooms. All right, a good start. Let's keep going. All right, these are my consistent bloomers, and I planted this dahlia last year. I have no idea what the name of it is because I was not keeping track of that back then. But these are really great for all my arrangements. They almost serve as a filler flower for me. They're just so prolific in my garden, just a classic white dahlia. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off quite a few of these and try to get some that have really long blooms. So I have some options when I'm putting together my arrangements. And some I can cut way back down because it will actually promote additional growth of my dahlias. If there are any bloomed out or any that have bug damage, of course, I'm not cutting those to use in my arrangements. But you can see they're just really great options to have in bouquets. They're just kind of a classic complementary white color. So I love having these, even though they're no names, um, they bring a lot to my bouquets. Okay, here's a really pretty area of my garden, but you'll see this one's going to be a pass for me today, too. So, this big yellow dahlia is called Kelvin Floodlight, and you'll see it's a dinner plate dahlia. It's bigger than my hand, it's just huge, and that's not going to be ideal for my bouquet. It's going to make it kind of top heavy or want to fall over to the side. It's just not going to meet the needs of what I want for my bouquet. Sometimes they want to kind of fall forward in a vase, and it's just hard to stake up. So they are pretty. I really like to use my dinner plates in single stem vases, so it really highlights the flower, maybe with just a little bit of other vertical interest. But that's going to be a no for my big bouquet today. The other no are these other dahlias in the back up there. These are my bumblebee magnet. The bees absolutely love them, but they are very hot colors. So they're very orange, bright orange, almost red. And then with the yellow, they look very hot. And compared to my other flowers in my bouquet or in my basket so far, they're just not going to mesh very well. So I'm going to pass on including those today in my arrangement. This dahlia is Sebastian, and it is one of my new dahlias this year. And it actually does match the colors that I'm putting in my arrangement. It has kind of that apricot color and then some pink in it also. So I'm going to cut maybe a couple of these. I do see there's a lot of other buds forming. Let's see. Maybe I'll just take one for now, but it's one of my new varieties that I ordered this year, and it's looking very beautiful. This is another new dahlia this year, and it is a cactus style, and it actually matches the color scheme that I am putting together for my bouquet as well. And this one's called Preference, and it has some really nice long stems. So I'm going to find a couple good blooms. Looks like this one here. I might cut off this side shoot and then cut this down pretty far. And it's already got a couple other side shoots that are going to produce blooms here in not too long. So look at this one. Isn't that stunning? This one's called Preference. This is called Peter Cottontail Yarrow. And let me show you. Let me get to it actually. I've got to kind of climb back here in my flower beds, but this is one of my favorites to use in arrangements. It's got a really nice white small flower. So this is different than my other flowers that I've used because it's got small flowers. All my roses, my dahlias, those are all large. So this brings some different kind of interest to my bouquets. So I'm going to cut off some of this to use. I'll cut it down longer. I've actually already cut this stem. I can see where I have used some of this in a previous bouquet, but since it is a filler, that won't matter as much. It still has bloomed off of that main stalk. So I'm going to cut that and use it, and then I'll just go through and grab some more. I might come in from the other way though. It's a little tricky to get to. All right, believe it or not, back here in what looks like kind of a messy area of the yard is one of my favorite things to use as a filler. So let me hop up there and I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, we're up above now my block wall where I have my raised bed vegetable garden. And this is what I was talking about for my filler. And this is a Weigela. It blooms really pretty pink blooms in the springtime. The reason I love this is because it has really long new growth stems, and the leaves themselves are variegated, and they're like a bright lime chartreusey green and a darker green. And it's just like the perfect thing to have in some of uh, my bouquet, my summer bouquets and arrangements. So I'm going to cut a few of these and then I'll show you up close what it looks like. But it is one of my favorites. And it's back here in the corner. So I also don't mind cutting on it, even if it means it might look a little questionable. You can't really see it from most angles of the yard. So I'm going to cut some off and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, I've cut a few off and this is what it looks like. Let's see if I can get it to focus here. You can see the leaves. They have this variegation on them that is light green, almost that lime green on the outside. And then it's like a darker green on the inside of the leaf. And it's just so unique and it brings that kind of pop of variance of green color to the bouquets. And it makes these really long stems too. So it's really nice to have in my bouquets for that filler. Because it doesn't have blooms on it right now, but it has really great, interesting leaves. Another thing I like to use that might be a little bit less traditional is rosemary. And this is my herb garden, but you can see my rosemary is growing in a pot and it's really like cascading down over the sides. And that's what I want this to do in my arrangement that I'm putting together. It also brings another sensory element to the arrangement. So instead of it just looking nice and being beautiful, it brings a scent to the arrangement that's really lovely with the rosemary smell. So when I'm going to be cutting from my arrangement, I'm going to look to kind of space out where I'm cutting things so it doesn't leave too big of a hole in my rosemary. But I'm just going to trim off some branch pieces like this um, every now and again around the outside. I did cut this rosemary all the way back in the winter time and it has done this. So I'm not too worried about cutting too much off of this plant. I do know that I want to use some of these beautiful cascading branches for my arrangements though. So I'm going to just go through and cut off some of this. Then it might be time to start putting some things together and see what else I'm missing. Okay, I am all set up here on my back patio table, ready to put my arrangement together. The first thing I'm going to do is decide what kind of vase I want to use. And I have a couple options here. Sometimes I go really casual with a jar. I have a lot of people that gift me jars. I have some jars that might have a little bit of a chip on the very top kind of rim, and so that means I can't use it for canning, and so it will go to my vase stash as long as it's not sharp. I don't want it to be dangerous. I have a lot of vases similar to this one that is kind of like a standard vase that you get from any kind of purchased bouquet, and so I have a lot of people that gift me these because they kind of accumulate over the years. So I have a lot of these in my stash as well. I like this one because if I'm trying to go for a bigger bouquet, you can see how this curves out. And so with the branches resting on the curve, it tends to allow for that to happen more of a vase shape. And this one doesn't have that, the jar, you see. So this would be better for something that I might just want to come straight up and not go out as much. This will have you'll have a harder time making that vase shape of the arrangement since this one is more up and down. This one is more up and down as well, but it has a bigger area around the top. This is actually a pot that I have. It's really pretty. It has a design on it. It is a little bit more of that romance theme that I'm going for with my bouquet. And because it has a bigger opening on top, it's gonna allow me to have more things that might end up vase shaped and give me a lot more rooms for more blooms inside. So out of those three options today, this one is the one that I'm gonna go with. And before I get started with my bouquet, I'm gonna go ahead and fill this up with water because as I'm filling my flowers in, I want them to be able to start to drink. And flowers will really absorb a lot of water right after you cut them and put them in. So just make sure you're keeping an eye on that water level as you have your bouquet for a few days and that you empty it, refill it so that your flowers stay as fresh as possible. So I'm going to go get some water. I will be right back. Okay, you can see here I have all my flowers laid out in front of me so I can see my options of what I have to work with today. And the first thing I'm going to go for is that rose that I cut at the very beginning because that's going to give me the structure to put everything else in. And let's see, these are starting to get a little droopy. I maybe should have put these in a bucket, but do as I say, not as I do. Let's see, I'm gonna move some of these and dig a little bit to find that very first rose bouquet bloom that we cut. Here it is. Okay, what a beauty. So, like I said, this actually, because it's all connected, is going to create my structure. Now, the other thing that I like to do when I'm making bouquets is have my pop up bag right next to me. So sometimes I just strip the leaves on the bouquets or cut things off and just end up throwing it on the floor, but then I have to clean it up. And sometimes it doesn't get cleaned up for a little while, makes a mess. So that's my tip is have your bag next to you. I am going to cut this stem short enough so that there's not a lot of extra because I want it to kind of just balance there in the bottom of my container. And I do need to strip off any of the leaves that would be going down into the water. I do like some of the leaves for the foliage on the rose, but I don't want anything to be submerged. So I'm just picking off those leaves. You can cut them off too. Roses are a little tricky because sometimes they have thorns. So you might want to use gloves or just cut them off instead of pulling them off. But I like to just pull them off, it goes faster for me. Okay, so I think that's good. You can see how I stripped the bottom area from all of those leaves. And then what I'm going to do is just put that here in my vase. Now it's not standing up yet because I need to put some other things in it to help make it sturdy. One of the other things that I cut that's pretty sturdy is my sedum. And you can see here that has quite a few leaves at the bottom too. So I do want to strip some of that off, the part that's going to be going down into the water, which includes any of the blooms that are down that low because I don't want them to be submerged in the water. Okay, and then I'm going to hold up my branch and just put that where I want it in my arrangement. And as I add more things in, it's going to all become intertwined and it's going to stand up much easier. So this one as well, I'm stripping those bottom leaves off. And now I'm putting that piece kind of opposite of where my other sedum was. So you can see my rose is going to become upright and I want the sedum to be kind of balanced around the outside. Now this is an arrangement that I want to be able to have and see from any angle. So I'm going to keep that in mind. I might keep rotating this around as I'm adding things into the vase just to make sure it looks okay from every angle. But yeah, I'm definitely going to just keep up on this and keep adding things in. This is some of my additional greenery. So I do the same with that. I strip off the bottom leaves, put that in my yard debris bin, and I might cut off a little bit of the length. I can test the length by kind of standing this up on the table to see how tall it might be once I put it in my arrangement. And then I'll just add this in where I think it should go. I usually adjust quite a few things, so I might put it in one place to begin with and end up taking it out and adding it in somewhere else later on. So I'm just going to work on adding things in a stem at a time and kind of see what I'm ending up with, and then I will share my finished product at the end. All right, here is what I ended up with today for my bouquet. Look how beautiful it turned out. It's got quite a mix of things, but you can see the difference in texture too. It's not a monochromatic bouquet. It has all kinds of different blooms, it has different colors, the foliage has different colors, all my fillers. And so I will just turn this bouquet around a little bit so you have a chance to see it from all sides. Now, my goal was not to make every side of the bouquet exactly match. So you'll see there's a different view from each side of the bouquet. And it shows off some of the different flowers. Like we have this preference dahlia here, and then turning it, we've kind of got like almost this cascade of the white dahlias coming down the front of the bouquet. And then as you turn it around, you're able to see some different areas of the rosemary and the sedum. And then we've got the blue boy eucalyptus coming out the top. That's my tallest stem, was a stem of the eucalyptus. And then as I turn it around, you can see my Weigela with that really great green chartreuse colored outline on the stems, and these beautiful little Peter Cottontail yarrow kind of sprinkled throughout to bring that small flower texture in there. And turning it more, we've got this really great sedum with that other color of the red, kind of that purpley magenta, and then landing back here where the very first rose is that we cut off. And you can see one of the buds is here, there's one over here, there's one up here, and the bloom is here. So that created my structure for my arrangement. And you can see everything's pretty tight in there. I'm not going to have anything really falling out. All right, I'm really happy with how my bouquet turned out. And hopefully, this inspires you to get out and cut a bouquet so you can enjoy your garden inside and outside this time of year, because everything, all the blooms are just beautiful. All right, rain or shine, I'll see you next time.